following on from the video I made of KPH, so Lancelot, Lance as he's known at home, I wanted to show a video of how Lance goes under saddle. So I'm still working on improving the canter transition, and I'm still working on improving the canter. So Lance's rear cannon bones are actually quite long. And so rather than sitting and engaging, he finds it easier to push off. So then he comes a little bit on the forehand, bounds around the arena, and I feel like he's pulling my arms out rather than working in self-carriage. So I could canter him until the cows come home, or, as I've chosen to do, is work with him on the long reins, utilising the cooler lunge training system, and then interspersing that with working him under saddle. So we will get to the canter transition, but after I've warmed him up, I find Lance responds quite well to lateral work. He's actually better with his lateral work than he is going forward in a straight line. So he's an interesting horse and he's a fun horse. So I like to do either some leg yielding or some shoulder and a travers, which I have then put through to some half pass just because it's fun. As you can see in my half passes, they're not always perfect. Sometimes the hindquarters are leading, sometimes there's too much angle, but we're getting there. And one of the reasons I do video is so I can ensure that I'm getting it right, or I can feel and see when I'm not getting it right, so I can continue to improve rather than waiting for the eyes of a judge to tell me where I'm going wrong. So just to let you know, some of this video has been taken with my broken pivot, which can still clearly zoom in and out. It just can't follow. And then luckily enough, my mum popped in, so I got my mum to take the rest of the video, which is much easier. But there is some editing on the video because we got interrupted with phone calls and such. Now, as you can see, that canter transition was quite clear and succinct. It actually took me 3 attempts, which I'm not showing you on the video because they were awful, to get that. But we are now at a place where he is learning to step under and step into canter rather than pushing off the back legs and throwing his weight forward into the canter. So canter is probably his hardest pace, and I do find doing some lateral work in the canter also helps, but I didn't do that today because this is getting towards the end of the session. He did just fall out of canter there. That's okay. I just rode a couple of big half halts to bring him back so he didn't then charge off on the forehand. You'll see that I'm doing a lot of rising trot. That is because my hind quarter injury is still there. But my arena has just been refurbed and I am determined to ride on it. I have waited nearly 12 months for this to happen. Well, it's probably about 10 months because I had to sort out other things post-flood, but I am pretty excited. It was my best canter transition ever, but it's not too bad. So he still stepped under and into the canter even though he went a little bit hollow. And this canter, compared to previous canters, it's actually a much more clear 3-beat canter, and I don't feel like he's pulling my arms out. So he's just having some little sneezes there, which is why the pole is dropping. He's looking quite straight, which is good, not hindquarters swinging in or anything like that. And you'll see I am going at some stage to attempt a couple of simple changes. See, he's quite relaxed there. Somehow just lost the video for some reason, but that's okay. You'll see the canter starting to get more collected. So in order to get more collection, you first got to be able to ride them more forward to be able to then bring them back. It's not a matter of me just bringing him back. He is slightly distracted with the flies. And that was not our best downward transition, but that was a pretty good walk to canter. We've only just started the walk to canters. And like I said, everything going straight's more difficult than for him going sideways. Good. That was on the upward beat. There is a docky on the arena. I'm used to riding around my goats and my sheep. It's not a big deal. A little bit of length and trot. So he's actually learning to cover more ground now without, again, charging off on the forehand. So he's actually a lot easier horse to ride than he ever has been before. This is due to training with the cooler lunge training system from the ground, having a change in coach as well, who's helped me to change my training technique to get it more where I want it to be. So it aligns with what I've been wanting to do. So my other coach was constantly wanting me to send him forward in the canter and get more jump in the canter, and I felt like I was riding a truck around the arena rather than trying to steer a horse. I'm like, I can get more jump, but I might just not make the turn at the end of the arena. So I'll do loads of transitions now. Concentrate a lot more on the lateral work at the beginning of the session to help him balance and connect. And then, as you can see, I've just thrown in a couple of half passes at the end just for fun, but also because I don't want him to think that once we canter, that's it, like that's the end of session. I can seriously hear Rooster in the background of this video, and I have turned the volume down. Now, going on my half pass ride, I've always got to be careful that I often set him up so the hindquarters are leading. So that's on me. He will place himself wherever I put him. I've got to learn to set him up more correctly. You'll see it did correct in the end. So now it's our center line halt. So obviously this is only some snippets of our workout, showing you how I intersperse training with the cooler lunge training system and put that into my ridden work with Lance. Thank you for watching.